This fake doctor used to drag his female patients, and when the patients were weak and they could not control their body, the doctor would get on top of them and sleep with them. At some point, the fake doctor tried to sleep with his female employee, but the employee resigned. This is the story of the fake Kenyan doctor known as Dr. Mugo. Mugo did not come from a wealthy background, and in the university he used to pay his own fees. In the university he was doing a degree in nursing. He was able to pay his own fees because he used to work in the morgue. And to earn extra money, Mugo used to perform extra services in the morgue. The extra services which Mugo was performing to the dead were like shaving them, unbraiding the dead, and even sometimes he would be contracted to remove the wigs from the dead persons. On a week, Mugo earned about 80,000 shillings. This was good money back in the late 1990s. Mugo was able to save a lot of this extra cash after paying school fees for himself. After 4 years in the university, in the year 2000, Mugo graduated with a degree in nursing, but he lied to his parents that he had actually graduated with a degree in medicine and surgery. This degree for medicine and surgery normally takes at least 6 years, but the parents believed Mugo, and now the parents knew that Mugo was a fully qualified doctor. So Mugo, armed with the money he had saved from performing extra services in the morgue or the mortuary, he opened his first clinic in an area known as Githurai. His first clinic was known as Prestige Healthcare, which operated 24 hours in a day. Dr. Mugo mostly marketed himself as a gynecologist, and a gynecologist is a doctor who is specialized in female reproductive health. These doctors mostly treat conditions related to the female breasts, the uterus, the ovaries, etc. Mugo offered some services including gynecology services for free, but mostly to female patients. So one day, a female patient came across a poster where Dr. Mugo was offering free gynecology services. Since she had issues with her monthly periods that were so painful, she decided to visit Dr. Mugo's clinic on 1st November 2014 to get treatment. To protect the identity of this female patient, let's call her Sophie. Sophie got to the clinic and she was directed to a room where fake Dr. Mugo was going to examine her. Sophie went to this room and she explained her issue. Then fake Dr. Mugo told Sophie that, "Don't worry, you are in the right place." Shortly after, Dr. Mugo left the room and he came back with 4 tablets, which he told Sophie to swallow with water. Sophie then took the 4 drugs and she swallowed with water. Then Mugo directed Sophie to climb the hospital bed, and Sophie climbed the hospital bed. Shortly after, Sophie got so weak and dizzy and she could not control her body. She could not even move her arms or legs. Mugo, noticing Sophie was weak, he went and locked the door from inside. And after a few hours, Sophie woke up, but she found herself in a different rooms. And when she looked down, she noticed that her undergarments or her panties were actually missing. She tried to ask the staff what happened to me, but the staff were not answering her. She also realized her phone had been switched off and fake Dr. Mugo was also missing from the clinic. Sophie, fearing something bad might have happened to her, she left the clinic and she went to another hospital where she was tested. And from the tests, it was found out that Sophie had been drugged. The doctors also examined Sophie down there and they realized that she had actually been assaulted. Sophie felt so bad and she went direct to the police station and reported Dr. Mugo. However, she was not assisted in the police station because the police told her that she had not come with concrete evidence, so they were not going to investigate that matter further. And Sophie left the police station in tears and she went online and she told her story to an activist known as Cyprian Nyakundi. And Cyprian Nyakundi connected her to some journalists from Citizen Television, one of the biggest media stations in Kenya. Citizen TV immediately started investigating the claims of Sophie. So the journalists went to Prestige Healthcare Clinic that is owned by Mugo and they started investigation. Some of Mugo's staff members were willing to cooperate with the journalists to get information. One of the staff members from Mugo's clinic told the journalist from Citizen TV that Mugo normally locks himself for hours only with female patients. So one day, Mugo's staff set up a hidden camera where Mugo normally locks himself with female patients for hours. The staff were so shocked by what Mugo used to do to female patients in a 24-minute video. In this video, they saw a female patient. To protect the ID of this patient, let's call her Pamela. On this footage or on this video, Pamela was seen climbing the hospital bed where Mugo was going to examine her. Minutes later, Mugo took a syringe and put in some medicine. Then he injected Pamela. And shortly after, Pamela got dizzy, weak, and she slept. She could not control her body. And Mugo, on this video, was seen removing his trousers. Then he climbed on top of the patients. And minutes later, Mugo was seen climbing down and wiping his fingers with some tissue paper. Then he threw the tissue paper in the dustbin. Then he pulled up his trousers and he left the hospital without saying a word to other staff members. Then hours later, Pamela woke up and left the hospital without knowing what had actually happened to her. The staff member who had taken this video with a hidden camera shared it with the journalist of Citizen Television. Before the journalists published this story, they wanted to hear the other side of Mugo's story. However, Mugo refused to meet with the journalists and give his side of the story. So the journalist went ahead and published the story. And Mugo saw the investigation on Citizen TV. And without wasting time, Mugo went into hiding. And the following day, the residents who had also watched the investigation were so angry and furious, and they went to Prestige Clinic and they vandalized it. Then the clinic was closed down and a manhunt started immediately to look for Mugo. Few days later, the police were successful and Dr. Mugo was arrested in a lodging where he was hiding. He was caught when he had gone to take breakfast in a restaurant. He was presented in court and he was charged with operating an unregistered clinic, assault, and illegally administering a controlled drug or a sedative. However, after a few months, Mugo was released by the court after submitting a 5 million bond that the court had asked him. His case really dragged for some years. And while the case was ongoing, Mugo opened another clinic in a low-income area and he resumed business as usual. The name of this new clinic was known as Milan, which he bought from his friend. And he operated this clinic from an area or a location known as Kayole. In this second clinic, Mugo would attend to patients while he was drunk. He also used to abuse drugs. Mugo will also inject himself with controlled drugs or sedatives. For the second time, Mugo was exposed by another media known as NTV. After the expose, Mugo was arrested and a second case was filed in court. So a month after the second arrest, his first case came to an end and Mugo was locked up for 11 years, and on top of it, he was supposed to pay 1.4 million shillings. 2 years later, the second case also came to a close. However, before it ended, a woman came and gave evidence, and she stated that one day while in Milan clinic that was owned by Mugo, she was injected by a sedative or a drug, and she became so weak and she could not respond. Then she saw Mugo removing her trousers, and shortly after, Mugo got on top of her. The woman could see Mugo, but she was unable to move or respond because of the drug she had been injected with. Then after this, Mugo was found guilty, and in the second case, Mugo was locked up for 29 years in prison. Mugo was so mad with the court's sentence, and he told the judge that when he comes out, he will commit a serious offense like drug trafficking or robbery with violence. That's the end of our story. Subscribe, share. You can also watch more stories on my channel. What do you think about this story? Give me your thoughts on the comment section. Until next time.